If you all were to ask me what the most rewatchable film of all time was, that would most definitely be The Heathers. This is because of the character development in the story. Welcome to the character development in The Heathers. Let's start this character analysis off with a very interesting character in this story, Heather McKenna. Heather McKenna is the middle Heather of the story. You know, she doesn't get the most character development, but she definitely does not get the least. Heather McKenna was an exact duplicate of Heather Chandler at the beginning of this story. And when Heather Chandler dies, as you move throughout the story, she gets to interact with more characters like Veronica and to an extent Heather Duke, but mostly Veronica, and you see her feelings in her true colors because of that. So, in a sense, Heather Chandler dying was not only an integral kickoff for this story, but an integral kickoff for this character. Heather Chandler. She is one of the most disinteresting characters in the movie, but yet she is so integral to the plot because she kicks off everything in the story. The reason why the plot kicks off is because of Heather Chandler being such a douchebag, and that is why she is important to the story, not because of character development, but because she is able to kick off the plot of the story. If there is one character that is fed up with Heather Duke's bullcrap in this story more than Veronica herself, that would have to be Heather Duke. Heather Duke is more of a slave to Heather Chandler at the beginning of this story than Veronica or Heather McKenna ever were. At the beginning of this story, she is very shy, she is very timid, but as she grows throughout the story, she is glad to see that Heather Chandler is dead. When she does die, she actually thanks the Lord that Heather Chandler died. And then later in the story, she becomes what she hated. She becomes that bully. She becomes that control freak that Heather Chandler was before, and she becomes her worst nightmare. One of the main plot points in this movie is Veronica's obsession to go against social norms and against what people think, especially the popular kids. She is friends with the popular kids, showed in the beginning when she is friends with Heather Chandler and Heather Duke and Heather McKenna. But by the end of this movie, she has completely broken down. She has just given up, and she is ready to go back to the life that she had before she met Jason Dean. The best way I could describe the villain of this movie, Jason Dean, is a psychopath. Some would argue that Heather Chandler is the villain of this movie because she was the girl that kicked off all these events. But Jason Dean was the man that carried out these events. He was so manipulative and so cunning and smart that it's kind of scary. He had plans. He didn't want this to be a murder, so he covered it up as suicides. And the way he carried out his plan throughout this movie, he had a start goal and he had an end goal. His end goal was to get Veronica to help him blow up the school and cleanse the generation, technically, as you'd say. And you really, once you stop and think about this character, you have to think, maybe this isn't the first town he's gone to. Maybe he's gone and manipulated other girls or boys into killing others and blowing up schools. This man is a psychopath. He's a criminal. He has moved from place to place. He has had a terrible childhood. He saw his mother get blown up in a gas station by his father, and that is why he is this psychopathic killer. And that is the best part. We know his backstory. We know his start. We know his end goal. And from the beginning of this movie, you just feel his presence. From that scene in the cafeteria all the way until he blows himself up in front of the school. Jason Dean, the best character in this movie, and I would argue one of the best villains of all time.